everybody, and welcome to another walkthrough of the Textguide with my boys, RJTV and Matthew Warren. How are you doing, boys?
I'm doing good, man. I'm really liking these new holes. How about you, Matt?
Oh man, I'm excited. I'm excited that Tommy's got a decent enough computer that we can get on the camera and have a little fun. Congratulations, Tommy. Thanks for having me here. And thank you so much, RJ.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's amazing. Now we actually have a camera. Hopefully you all that are watching is enjoying our cute faces on screen. And, it's new course, Shiruba Springs, for the Winter Major Tournament. And we are going to go over the text guides that you can find in the description down below. Also on the website golfclashtommy.com. But please make sure that you do also comment with whatever question, or maybe if you have a suggestion. Because in the end, it's new holes. And we have played them a lot, but in the end, when there's new holes, there is always stuff that you need to figure out eventually. Not need to, but you do figure out eventually. So for this version, as the one for the last one, Matthew is going to cover rookie, for those of you playing from front tee. RJ is going to cover second tee, which is pro and expert, and me personally, I'm gonna do the master. The vision. And don't forget to subscribe to our channels. You do have the logo, but also you have the links in the description down below to its RGTV and to Erelic Gaming. So subscribe to they. RJ, what do you think is going to be the winning score here? Do you have a thought?
I actually do, but the thought isn't an actual number. It is what direction of the wind are they going to give us, because I can see giving us a headwind instead of a tailwind is easily going to take a stroke or two off of a couple shots I got in my head, as to where, there's one in particular where you could literally drive over a big patch of green with maybe a berserker or a snow globe, as to where if you have a headwind, I'm wondering if there's even enough top spin to jump over this thick patch of snow. There's so many possibilities. I'm excited. I'm excited, man. I'm gonna just knowing Playdemic, I'm gonna take a guess and say 15 with no extra drops for the qualifying round.
Matthew, what?
No. I'm sorry.
Fire, RJ.
Yeah.
13, not 15. I was thinking 14 was the steady Eddie for some strange reason. 13. Would be your average weekend score with no extra drops, in my opinion. Sorry about that.
I hope I play like you, RJ. I
really don't. I didn't make the weekend last night.
I see the rookies basically. I think in the qualifications, I think people that are going to have a -11 to -12 are absolutely almost always going to make it through. But I think come the weekend, I think we're going to see scores in rookie very similar. I think 26s to 30s are going to be banners.
Nice.
In most brackets.
Nice. It's going to be at least extremely exciting, and when it's a major, it's always going to be so. Yeah, I think major it's a little bit more exciting than a regular tournament, to be honest. It means a little bit more. But I think it's time to go over the text guide once again. Make sure you comment if you have any questions, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up. So let's go with hole number 1. So, for hole number 1, we start with a par 4. Matthew, how do we approach this hole from front tee?
Well, I've spent a lot of time playing these holes on this brand new Shiruba Springs course, and I do agree 110% with Tommy's guide here that the black line is ultimately going to be the best choice for me in rookie. I'm going to play it here 10% downhill. I'm going to make sure to use at least a power 1 ball, Navigator Quasar. I like the Quasar here. Gives me a little bit more options around the green, and then basically just put a maximum topspin on that driver, maybe a little bit overpower if you're feeling frisky right out the gates, and you're going to move on to your second shot. It's basically going to be again 10% downhill. You're going to basically end up with a wood club, minimum distance, Viper, sniper, and then if you have enough distance on your drive, you may end up playing a Goliath shot, and then basically you're going to just bounce it up to the left of that bunker. You see the second black square. Try to get it up in the hole.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Our notes are probably going to sound very similar. 10% is the same in pro and expert. I like a power club with a lot of top spin. Personally, I like Kingmakers if you have them in in tournaments, especially majors, because they give you a little bit of advantage. And I also would like to take that Kingmaker with full topspin up the right side as well. That is going to actually, you're going to land right around where that black box is, but then you're going to roll up a little bit more, and then you're going to be taking your shot from there. I played this two different ways. I did play with the white line, and I did play with the black line. I also agree with what Erelic saying, that we're going to be in right around minimum distance sniper, and you just have a straighter path as to where I couldn't get my ball guide to situate right when I took the white line. So I completely agree with you. How are you playing it from the third tee, Tommy?
Yeah, it's going to be different there as well. I think, not maybe different, but we are going to use the white line most likely a little bit more often if we do have a very bad wind, especially if like, let's say we have a straight headwind, it would be more value to us trying to get over to the left hand side following the white line due to having a straight headwind for the approach. Due to the wind being so strong in Master, it's always trying to find those like situations on the course where you do have a straight wind towards the pin or like on the hole. The black line will be, I would say, most likely the most one to use. I do think we're going to have a wind that is going to allow us to just have a fairly easy drive and then maybe a tougher second shot. That's at least what I have as feeling. Then I think it's going to be possible to play with a turkey ball, maybe a 3-point ball, Burns ball, some ball that do have a decent amount of distance but also wind resistance. And it's more common in Master nowadays to play with a more wind resistant ball even on par 4s to maximize the opportunity to get a drop. The elevation that is played from all tees is 10% downhill for the drive, nothing for the second shot. And I do believe we will see some drops here, even though it's not like somewhat a hole that I can say, it's a must. So, hole number 2, we go to our first par 3 of the Shiruba Lanes. Matthew, how do we go on from front tee?
Well, the front tee, I think these par 3s are going to be really important in this tournament. And I think that this second hole is an excellent opportunity in rookie. My main approach here was going to be using the black line, going straight at it with 10% downhill adjustment. Basically, I'm going to use probably a navigator ball. You can go Marlin here, not a big deal. Again, I think the backbone with its accuracy is going to be a great shot to go straight at the pin. If the wind allows it, you go ahead and dabble with that rough bump, but I'm going to save that for my pro bag.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually what I have in my notes as well. 20% sniper with a Kingmaker or a Katana. I prefer the Kingmaker, especially an expert, just to knock that wind down a little bit more. As the guys are saying, there is a rough bump, but if you get a great right, you're going to miss the rough, hit the fairway, and end up all the way in the back in the sand or the snow. So I like going full back spin with about 0 to 2 left spin is what I was playing with. Basically just get the ball guide to the hole. And, of course, you have your extended ball guide and your shortened ball guide, depending on the type of wind we have. But I am personally not a fan of the dangerous rough bumps because I get a case of the greats at least twice a game. So you could use a sniper. I happen to have level 10. You might even have an opportunity to use a long iron. In that case, I would definitely bring a Goliath or something that has the full 135 yards, I believe it is. Or if you don't have a level 10 or 9 sniper, even a Guardian would work. How are you playing this, Tommy?
Yeah, and I think in Master, if the wind allows, I think we are all going to go and play rough bump. Just because after playing it, I noticed there is a funnel there by the rough bump, and even though a great right will be risky, even if you play from 30 and might have more accurate clubs than you have in the lower divisions, it's still going to be like that risk is going to be needed to take, as I do feel that we're going to be as dialed in that with a perfect it's either going to be in or super duper close, and then that's worth taking the risk if you play Master. Like wind resistance ball here, I think is an absolute must, especially when we play such a a massively downhill approach. And I play this 125% elevation, like over adjustments, a little bit more than we play from second and front tee, just because we have the tee box a little bit higher up, and then it makes sense that we obviously play more downhill. Sure, you can play with a Kingmaker or a Centurion or any other type of ball than a Wind 5, but if you do that, I would suggest to go black line, bounce towards the pin, and not risk the rough bump with a 10 to a 13 mile per hour wind. It's gonna be interesting. So Matthew, how do we play hole number 3, par 5?
Well, this is a hard hole. I definitely am going to dig deep and bring out a Titan ball, like minimum. Honestly, I think it's really essential. Otherwise, the chance for getting the eagle here is going to be really tough. Set up your first shot with your extra mile, 10% downhill. You could actually possibly use the big topper here, but I haven't had a chance to give that a shot. So full top spin, and as far down that second fairway as you can get. And then on the second shot, we're also going to go 10% downhill. I see this as a big dog hole for the majority of rookie players. However, if you've got a horizon in any decent level, I think that's going to be another excellent chance to get this thing really close to the green. You're going to use your maximum topspin on either club. A little bit of overpower. Just be careful on those low accuracy clubs. Shot number 3, I see us sitting with a short iron up near that third black box, and or a wedge, somewhere in close to the hole. And if you are near that black box down by the side of the bunker, you're going to want to adjust for 10% uphill elevation. Thanks for that, Tommy. RJ, tell us how it's at the second tee, buddy.
Very similar. I also, once again, have a power club and a top spin club. A Kingmaker would be nice, minimum. I would also go with either a power 4 or a power 5 ball in this case for the second shot, more so than the first. I like to put the red ring by the top rough just to make sure that you don't accidentally go a little too far and ruin your drive. And then I actually, in my notes, it's just like Matt just said, 10% on your drive, 10% on your second shot. I have Big Dog and Kata down, but I really do like the idea of the horizon. So if you have the horizon right around 180 yards with 100 top spin, that's going to get you a lot closer than a Big Dog or a Cataclysm can. Either way, it should put you at the bottom of the last fairway for your actual drive. And then the top spin, you probably need a little bit of left spin as well to scoot up that skinny little section there. And then, as Erelic Gaming just pointed out, minus 10% if you are unable to make it onto the green or like right near the fringe. You'll be able to see it is an uphill shot. So 10% is the adjustment, and that'll be either on a wedge or a short iron shot.
Yes, and from Master T, I do think we're going to focus directly on playing with a power 4 ball or a power 5 ball, as the second shot is going to be a hell of a lot easier with a more powered ball. First, we use a club with, I would say, both topspin and accuracy if we can choose, because that fairway strip there is going to be pretty tiny, especially if we're not having a wind in our favor. So to be able to compensate for a great shot, like a club with a good accuracy would be good. So I would say try to maximize, like trying to play with an Apocalypse, maybe with a higher level Thor's Hammer, something like that, because the further down and the more to the right we are after our drive, like for the second shot, the better it's going to be for us. Second shot, I also truly like the idea of using the horizon here, as horizon gives you an enormous amount of top spin, which could get you very close to the green. And if you have a favorable wind and also like a power 4, power 5 ball, you might even reach to the green. Not saying that you will get an albatross on this hole, but in the best case scenario, you will be on maybe fringe or maybe having a putt for an eagle. But I think in general terms, we should be focusing on that we will be having a short iron or a wedge shot from pretty far out, that we have to play with an under adjustment towards the pin. Obviously, if you do have a Cataclysm level 6, 7, 8, I think that club is going to be better than the horizon. That even if the horizon is in max level, you do not have the 180 yards, you only have the top swing, but Cataclysm then has both. So very interesting hole, and I do personally see if you're going to drop a shot or two, you're going to do that on hole number 3. So, for hole number 4, we do have multiply lines on the screen. So, Matthew, how do we play from front tee?
Well, I think here the safest path for the average rookie player is to follow the black line. You're going to want to play it at 10% downhill with a quasar or a katana ball. You want to have that side spin so that you can set up on the left edge of the bunker there and then sort of bounce it up and to the right onto the green. I've also, and that would be with the backbone, I think is a really good choice there for accuracy. I've also tried this shot from the blue square using a Goliath club with a lot of topspin. We're talking like 5 to 7 bars. And I also came fairly close. The way that the hole is positioned is sort of up on a shelf. You kind of roll it up the hill and it's on a little shelf at the top. So I'm still working on this one. Maybe RJ is going to give us the lessons we need.
Matthew, what color was that line?
That's the purple line, RJ.
There you go. Okay. Just wanted to make sure you understood. Actually, with Pro and Expert, I think we're going to be tackling the white line. And since I didn't get to say the purple line, I had to tease Matt there a little bit. With the white line, any accurate long iron should work with a Kingmaker or a side spin and wind ball, assuming that we don't have direct headwind. If we do, then but if we have tailwind, I would go with a Grizzly. If not, maybe a B52. The thing is, we don't need any top spin. We don't really need any back spin from what I can tell on this. And if we do, it's going to be a very small amount. So blue ring by the sand, right, like there's like a peninsula that kind of juts out a little to the left. I would have my blue ring half in at the top and right next to it at the bottom. That seems to be the sweet spot here. And then just put full left spin on with your side spin 3 ball. And again, I have Grizzly in a tailwind. I don't know if Grizzly will be long enough in a headwind, but a B52 sure should be. What about you, Tommy? What do you got for the Masters?
Yeah, I don't really have much because in the end, this hasn't been a hole that has been featured a lot when I've been playing. I have been having good success following the blue line though, like bouncing over the bunker, using like 2 to 3 bars of topspin, and then max then 4.5 bars side spin to the right. So trying just bounce it like that, but in the end that was with a little headwind and crosswind. Like with a straight headwind, higher wind, we might need to go up and play with our quarterback or the rock and go with a more backspin approach. I think in the end this hole will be the tougher of the par 3s, as the bunker there is perfectly placed by the game makers and will be a struggle for us to adjust for. To mention the elevations, we have 10% from the front and the second tee, and we have 20% extra from the third tee. And interesting par 3, I must say, so we're going to leave it with that. I'm going to wait for the tournament win to come before we really get into details when it comes to spin and position and such stuff like that. So, hole number 5, par 4. Very interesting hole in my opinion. So Matthew, how do we play hole number 5 from front tee?
Tommy, honestly, this par 4, I'm 50-50. I really like how you broke it down in the guide to the tailwind versus crosswind circumstances. And Tommy will explain why. But basically, if we got tailwind and rookie, we're going black line. We're basically going to just use 0% elevation, extra mile. Navigator is my favorite here, but the Quasar is probably a smarter choice coming up to the green. You're going to use as much top spin as you can to bounce it up over the rough and as far down the left fairway as possible. And then your second shot, you're going to play a 10% downhill wood, such as your Viper or a Sniper, preferably, if you've got it in decent distance. And the distance of that club should probably be roughly in minimum, or else you'll find yourself with a Goliath in maximum distance. Basically, play that long iron with no spin, just up and to the pin. But if you use that wood, make sure you got your 2 to 4 bars of backspin, just to make sure you're not too hot. Now, if we have crosswind, you're going to take the right side, and we're going to play a rough bump all day and every day, as Tommy would say. 0% on the drive, extra mile driver. I'm going to try to, dig into the inventory here once again. Go with the katana ball. And if you're feeling feisty, this might be the one hole of the tournament. I would encourage a rookie to use a kingmaker ball if you've got one. Top spin all the way down the fairway, but don't hit that bunker. And the second shot, I'm going to play that rough bump at 0% as well. 1 to 2 top spin just to bring it up off the rough and into the hole.
All right. Well, hole 5, I have 5% on the elevation, and I would like to use a power and top spin driver. If you have it, preferably like a Thor's Hammer 6 or an Extra Mile 9 as examples. I'm playing the left side as I couldn't get comfortable with the right side. I'm sure there's a great play there, but this way you don't have to worry about curl and all these other things. So no matter what the wind is, I'm going straight up, following the black box with a power 3 to power 5 ball. Again, Kingmaker should be fine, but the reason I say power 5 ball is just in case we have wind blowing in at us and we need to adjust out. Instead of overpowering with such a skinny fairway, I personally would prefer just to adjust for a little extra wind and bring a berserker that you can get for free on the Golden Shot. And so that will take us to the second shot, full top spin, full left spin. That'll take us to our second shot, which is 10%. And there is, as Matt just said, a sniper rough bump, or you could just aim at the pin with backspin, whichever you're comfortable with.
Yes, at 30, I do have the same type of thing here. Like black line is going to be the most common one, I guess. We bounce on the fairway over to the other fairway, and then we have a wood club approach towards the pin, or maybe a long arm approach depending on how the wind is going to be. I'm not going to spend that much time about that one, because I do believe once again that when you play in Master, we are looking for those rough bumps, we are looking for those thin spots but could give us a really good reward if we just hit the ball perfect. So I think it's going to be very common as well in Master that we will take a Win 5 power 2 ball, like a turkey ball, arrow ball, rugby ball, something like that, or maybe a 3-point ball, Burns ball, and go just full top spin up on the right hand side, try to lay up for a long iron rough bump from distance. When we play with a crosswind, the rough bump is going to be like the 100% option, in my opinion. That's going to be the only option, as then it kind of takes away the risk of missing the rough with an over adjustment or under adjustment or with a great shot. But I would say with a straight tailwind, especially when we drop down into the bunker trying to do the rough bump, you need to be a bit cautious about that. But in the end, I think we're still gonna stick with the rough bump, as it obviously all about dialing it in and knowing what to do from different range. But so once again, if you want to play it safe and and just go and have a wood club shot all the time from distance, you play black line. But if you're going to get close to an eagle and maybe get a drop on this from time to time, I think it's going to be the rough bump that is going to be the best. So 5% extra for the drive. If you play the approach shot from the left, aka the black line, you play 10% over adjustment. If you play the second shot from the right, I would play that without elevation as well. So, the second par 5, we come to hole number 6. Matthew, how do we approach hole number 6 from front tee?
Tommy, I think if you want any chance at an eagle here in rookie, you're going to have to pull out a power 3 ball. I'm going to say that right away. I'm going to play the drive 10%. We're going to play it to the left. You're going to see the black line. We're going to follow that exactly. Bounce it up and over the rough in the sand and as far down that second piece of fairway as possible. So for the second shot, though, I'm going to play this at 0% elevation. The big dog, I think, in 99% of cases here for rookies is going to be the club to bring. 3 to 5 bars of topspin, max left curl, and you really want to just try to get this thing up and to the top end of that second last fairway. If you're lucky, you're going to bounce it right near the end where that black box is, and you're going to roll it up at least to the fairway in front of the green. Otherwise, if we can bounce it just out of the snow and bring it to clip the rough and be in the fairway by that last bunker near the green, you're going to be in a really, really nice position. I don't see anybody in any division getting an albatross in this hole, but RJ, please tell me how to do that.
I can't tell you how to get an albatross, but well, actually, no. You know what? Maybe I can, but it's not really in my notes. There's two ways to play it. I personally like the conservative way, and my notes cover that, and I'm going to cover that in just a second. But if you do have an apocalypse with a decent amount of topspin, which would take to about level 5, I believe you can actually hit that green off to the left a little with a bunch of curl and get way up there. However, I don't see a huge benefit with the risk benefit reward. So personally, I go straight up the gut with the rock or the quarterback because we are only going to be needing a little bit of topspin. 4 topspin I actually have. It doesn't look like we should be using topspin, but I believe it might actually be a little uphill roll if I'm remembering the correct hole into the second fairway. And then you have another shot with that's going to take you on or near the green with either a big dog or a cataclysm. 0% adjustment on that. And we're going to go full top spin, and we're going to use as much left spin as we feel we need because we're also going to be using a lot of left curl, possibly even full left curl. As you can see, the bend in the black line there. I like the red ring by the rough. So when you make that shot, it just kind of lets you know where you can place your ball without, of course, wind direction could move that over a little, but just a general rule of thumb, the red ring by the rough. Second bounce, rough bump, and it'll roll you right out. Chances are it's not going to have enough to get you in there for the albatross, but an eagle on this hole is something I would be happy with.
Yeah, here, playing from 30, I think we will be happy with an eagle all the time here. I do not see many albatrosses. The only way that I think is going to be a possibility for an albatross is if we get a very favorable wind. I would say almost a straight tailwind, because having a straight tailwind here would allow us to either go directly to where the second black box is, to bounce there over to the fairway to the right. So we're basically using topspin, bounce into the rough and roll out. That will leave us for a wood club or maybe a long iron towards the pin, depending on how far you roll. Or we go, as explained from RJ, you use a lot of curl and go on the fairway on the top right and curl and bounce over to the fairway. There is options with that, but from 30 you need to have tailwind, otherwise you will not be able to reach. So the general way will be to bounce on the fairway there on where the first black marker is, then over to the second fairway. I'm going to use somewhere between 3 to 6 bars of topspin. It all depends on what type of wind we're going to have, because using too little topspin would make the ball clip the rough on the other side and roll out, and if we do have too much, we're going to roll into the rough, and both of those scenarios, then you're dead. You cannot reach the green in 2. That's not going to be possible. Second shot, a lot of curl. As much curl as you can, and then you can, use topspin to bounce into the rough, or you can use trying to be very, very detailed with the topspin as for trying to bounce over the rough and roll towards the green. If we have to take that route, like as explained in the guide, it's going to be just a pure eagle hole as best. I don't see anyone really dropping the albatross there either, and that's what I kind of enjoy with the par 5s of the Shiruba Springs here in the Winter Major, that you don't really have that good opportunities. You really have to fight just for a general eagle. So, hole number 7, we get ourselves the last of the par 4 of the Shiruba Springs. Matthew, how do we play hole 7 from front tee?
I really like this hole. I think it's very good. I'm going to be playing the black line here in rookie. Basically, I think it's important to bring a ball with a lot of side spin. So I love the idea of a katana ball. If you can't afford it, bring your Quasar. For me, I'm going to be playing the quarterback on the drive here with 20% downhill. I set it up even slightly more, just a little to the right of that black box, the first black box. And then I'm going to apply maximum right spin, 1 to 3 top spin, depending on the wind direction. And I like to put quite a bit of right curl on it. And basically, I'm going to hit this ball up off the first black box, and I'm going to roll hopefully a little more to the right of that second black box that's on the fairway, to be perfectly real with y'all. The second shot, I'm going to play it from anywhere, somewhere on that second fairway, 25% downhill for the rough bump. The sniper is the number one choice here if you've got it. I played it with the Viper, hit my spot just fine. You're going to be using a little bit of that right spin there from the rough bump position. Couple bars of top spin, and you should be looking at a very, very opportunistic eagle here. What do you think, RJ?
I play a pretty similar way to the way that you're playing from the second tee. Also 20% on the drive. We have the rock available to us. We also have the quarterback. However, I would probably use the quarterback more so in tailwind, and the rock you can use in any wind. So that's something to consider. So in that case, the rock trumps the quarterback. We call it the right side. I kind of call it going straight up. Kingmaker with about 4 backspin. So instead of going to the right, I try to jump over the snow and then let the ball roll and stop before it hits the snow again. And then we're going to go 25%, just like you said, with 4 right spin and the red ring by the fairway on a rough bump that you could see. I've been pretty anti-rough bump this walkthrough, but this one is just so perfect. It's big enough. If you hit great, you're still going to hit it, and I really think that this is one where you can gain a stroke.
Yes, at 30 we're going to play almost the same way, not almost, we're going to play the same way as described from Matthew and RJ. It's like we are bouncing on the fairway over to the other fairway. Here we might need to skip the quarterback or the rock, as we most likely won't be having the distance from the third tee. So you play with the driver that you feel the most comfortable with playing. So like Extra Mile, Thor's Hammer, Apocalypse, something like that. Bounce over with a 20% over adjustment, and we're going to use all from like just 1 bar of backspin with a severe headwind to that we play with like 5, 6, even 7 bars of backspin with a very strong tailwind. You have to adapt depending on obviously what type of wind that we're having in the tournament. Then second shot, we go for a rough bump, and the sniper is the one that is preferred, as explained by RJ. You can hit great left, great right, and it's still going to be no problem whatsoever. This is also a par 4 where playing with a more wind resistance ball, but still keeping like power 2, power 3, is going to be a very good option here in my opinion. The white line is there. The white line is more or less, for those players that don't want to deal with the rough bump, and we still have the wind so we can bounce over the rough. It's not a bad route by any means. Like, we bounce on the fairway over the rough, trying to gain as much distance as possible. The thing that changes though, that instead of playing with 25% over adjustment like a downhill as we do for the rough bump according to the black line, then for the second shot according to the white line, we play with no elevation whatsoever, because we are falling down, like we're rolling down the hill, and then we're coming like to the same height as the pin are. So that's why we're not playing with any elevation for the second shot according to the white line. So for the final par 3, we do have hole number 8. So how do we play hole 8 from front tee?
Well, from the front tee, I think this is a really straightforward hole. I'm literally going to follow that white line. I'm going to adjust my Quasar or Katana ball. I like the Katana if you can afford it, at 10% downhill. And I'm going to play here with the Backbone Club. I'm 99% sure, especially because of its accuracy. Maximum left spin. What, a half a bar of top spin, maybe 1 bar of top spin. Better to be a little long than short, and aim it directly at the pin.
All right, so with the second tee, we're actually going to be adjusting 20% and using our snipers. I like 4 backspin and about 1 left spin, and we're going to land in the bottleneck right where you see that white box. The ball guide is going to be aimed directly at the pin, so once you add the 4 backspin and the 1 left spin, you'll know you're in the right spot once it looks like the ball guide showing it go into the pin. There's also a rough bump, but the green, or not the green, but the rough is just as thick as the bullseye is. So once again, it's definitely there. It's definitely viable. But if you're not overly, I don't want to say you're overconfident, you need to be very confident, because you definitely need to hit perfect for that one. So I personally won't be trying that. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, and that's kind of the same from Master T. I do think that the rough bump, if we are talking about the hole-in-one, will be the best opportunity, but that will be if we do hit perfect. If we hit great left, we great left or great right, and we hit that in a minor way, like if I can call it a yellow great left or great right, then that might be fine. It will still clip the rough. But if we hit like a firm great left or great right, we're most likely going to miss the rough, and it's either going to be into the sand, or it's going to bounce on the fairway over the green and gonna be into the rough. So we kind of have to think about that when or if we're going to play the rough one, because it's a very thin line that we're playing. But I still, once again, think that's going to be the best line to get the hole-in-one on. I do think, though, that we're going to play fairway most of the times, though, and try to dial it in that way. And bounce on the fairway directly up to the pin. It's a flat green, so as for the other holes of the Sharuba Springs, which means that if we can just find a good first spot, we're going to have a good chance there from the fairway as well. We're going to play 20% over adjustment from 30, and depending on what type of wind and power ball you're playing, then you're going to play either with a driver like the quarterback or the rock, or we're going to play with a sniper as for the approach shot. Yes, the final hole in this walkthrough, but also in the tournament, is going to be hole 9-18, which is a par 5, 516 yards. Matthew, how do we approach hole 9 from front tee?
Look, 516 yards. If I were to ever recommend a rookie to use a greater than a power 3 ball, this would be the hole. If you got a 4 or a 5, power 4, power 5 you want to use, go ahead and load it up. If not, your Titan will suffice. Play your first shot at 10% downhill. I'm probably going to be playing a big topper shot here. I did use an extra mile in the regular tour play practice, but I'm liking the way that the big topper is going to set up here. Maximum topspin, bounce it over the rough to gain as much distance as possible. Basically move it up the second fairway. On the second shot, I'm liking Horizon first. Big dog would be my next option. Play them both at 10% downhill. Maximum topspin. Now, you can use a little overpower here if necessary to get these ones to bounce up and over to reach that last bit of fairway. If you can't reach it and you feel like you're going to struggle, lay it up, leave it a bit short. But that's where having a power 4 or 5 ball, rookies, if you want, would maybe make it a little easier. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough hole, par 5 just to get your eagle.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have a power club with topspin, and that actually, because the drive isn't ridiculously far like the wood shot is, big topper, definitely viable opportunity from the second tee as well. If you don't have, say, Thor's Hammer 6 or higher, or your extra mile 9, what we're going to do is we're going to bounce over the rough in straight tailwind. You could have a berserker shot actually landing on the other side, but because that is like a 1 in 4 chance depending on the wind, I don't want to really get into that, but just so you know, that might be there, and land literally on the second fairway, making your second shot easier. But let's just assume that you still have to hop over. That'll move you up towards the second black box. Then we have 10%. I completely agree with Matthew that a Horizon is your best choice. All that top spin, plus it gives you quite a bit of distance. I would go full top spin, about 75% right curl and full right spin. Or if you're unlucky enough to never have pulled a Horizon, even level 1, I would go with a big dog or a Cataclysm. And that's it. That's all I got for this hole.
Yes, and I have the same thing basically. But the only the big difference here is that we cannot use the big topper from the 30. We don't have the distance, so we're going to have to use the driver that has, it's going to be a Thor's Hammer or the Apocalypse or extra mile level 9. That's kind of the 3 clubs that we're going to choose between. Bounce over the rough, and here power 4 ball or power 5 ball is going to be, I would call it almost a must, just to be able to adapt for basically whatever type of wind that we're going to have. When it comes to the elevation for the drive, we're playing 10% over adjustment, and we try to get the ball just as far down the fairway as possible, leaving ourselves up for a shot with either the Cataclysm or the Horizon. And then say those type of clubs, because having a higher level Cataclysm will give you very close to the same amount of topspin as the Horizon. So if you do have a Cataclysm level 6, 7 or 8, keep that club. because it does have a way better accuracy than the Horizon, and that could be very helpful with a great shot. But if you don't have a Cataclysm level 6+, then you go to the Horizon in no matter what level you have that club in, because that will give you a possibility to reach the green with the topspin, and then you will have to just deal with the fact that you have a very crappy accuracy there for the second shot. 10% over adjustment for the second shot as well, and in my book this is no albatross whatsoever. It's just a pure eagle. We will see more people do a birdie here than we will see albatross in the long run. Yes! Thank you so much everybody for watching this walkthrough of the text guide for the Shiruba Springs and the Winter Major Tournament. Matthew, you know, what do you think now while going over the holes here? Do you think we're gonna have a lower or higher score than I thought before? I'd like to say maybe.
I still think I'm aiming to shoot for -14s. I think that's where I really want to be. However, I'm going to be happy with 12s and 13s all day long. And if I can just say quickly, thank you so much. It's such a privilege and an honor to be here with you guys right now. So, yeah, thank you so much. Good luck to everybody.
Yeah, better be. No, actually, I completely agree. Like I said at the beginning, -13. I know I originally said 15, but I don't know where my brain was at. I think that, you know, they're going to give us some tough wins, and with the elevation and everything else that we're going to be facing, it's definitely going to be a challenging tournament.
Yeah, and I agree. From Master T, they could give us a very, very tough time giving us headwind. Then I think we're going to struggle on, especially every par 5, to get anything decent happening there. And we'll see many people, especially on hole 3, to not even get the eagle there. So I look forward to it. Monday, it's time to stream all the divisions. And, you know, now when you have watched here, if you aren't a subscriber to, you know, any of the 3 channels here that we do represent, then go over and subscribe. So here to Team Tommy, then we have It's RJ TV, and we have Erelic Gaming. The links to the channels is in the descriptions down it's in the description down below. Also, you can get the updated text guides for, you know, patrons only by going to patreon.com/golf-tommy. So if you do want to get an advantage over your opponent, those are the guides you are needed to get. So boys,
now, Tommy,
yeah,
real quick, I heard that if the new Patreons, if they sign up, you'll say the name of the tournament 3 times fast on video right now.
The first time
Nobody can say that name 3 times fast.
Shiruba Springs, Shiruba Springs, Shiruba Springs. And
Winter Major. Yeah. Winter Major. Just say Winter Major.
No. Winter Major.
There we go. That's hard to do.
Yeah. So in the end, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and we all 3 here want to wish you the best of luck in the Winter Major. Bye, everyone.